The Hot Wheels Super Treasure Hunt, the rarest of the rare. Or is it? Stay tuned. We're going to take a look at the numbers that go into figuring out just how many Super Treasure Hunts there are per case, per year, on average. So if you talk to most collectors, they will tell you that in the search of Hot Wheels, the most coveted car that you can pull from a Hot Wheels case is the Super Treasure Hunt. Now in front of me, I have a few different Super Treasure Hunts for the last couple of years, and I kind of separated them based off of numbers I was able to find in certain places or areas, and ones that were much more difficult to find or impossible to find, meaning I had to go to either trade or secondary market in order to find them. And that could be based off of the casting popularity, or it could just be randomly the assortment that is sent to your area, which allows you to have more of a probability of finding these Super Treasure Hunts. But I want to talk to you guys today about what I think are the estimated numbers. Now, if you're to talk to somebody from Mattel, they're not going to ever reveal to you the rarity of the Super Treasure Hunt. Why? Because that leaves some mystique for there to actually be some collectability to these. And what really separates a Super Treasure Hunt from a mainline? Well, let's take a look at the Mazda Cosmo, for example. If you were to take a look at the Mazda Cosmo in its base form, it's not going to have this orange Spectra frame paint. It's not going to have the real Rider wheels, the rubber tires, and the upgraded wheel package. And that's kind of all that really sets the two apart, is the addition of a nicer paint and the upgraded wheels. So why are these so coveted, and why are they so rare, and what are the numbers? So let's talk the numbers that we do know. So Hot Wheels does publish that they produce approximately 512 million die-cast Hot Wheels mainlines per year. So that's 512 million broken up with your international cases and the domestic cases that we get here in the United States. 512 million die-cast mainlines worldwide. So how many cases is that when you break it down into the case format? Well, let's stick to the 72 car case format because that's the assortments we get here in the United States. I do realize that the short card assortments come in a half case or 36, but the majority of the cases that we see here in the United States are long card international. So I'm going to base it off of the 72 card count for this estimation. So if we divide the 512 million that are produced each year by Hot Wheels, we find that it breaks down from a 72 count case into 7,111 different cases produced in the long card version, 72 count per year. Now, there are 15 total assortments per year, starting with case code A, moving all the way through case code Q. And so if I take that 7,111,000 and I divide that by 15 case assortments, that tells me that the case assortments are broken down to 474,074 total cases of each case assortment. So that's where we get into the number that we need to determine where and how often are you going to be able to find the Super Treasure Hunts. Now the where, that's anybody's guess. They are randomly inserted into the cases, and they are shipped out to distribution centers around the country and around the world. And there's really no way of determining what is going to have a Super Treasure Hunt and what is not. I've seen people post on their finds that they find certain codes on boxes that they've had luck with, and they feel like these are magic codes. It's not. I've seen people find them in one case assortment with a code, and then the very next box with the same case code does not have the Super Treasure Hunt in it. So I think it's the luck of the draw, and it just comes down to being in the right place at the right time. So let's break this down. If you were to basically try to figure out how many cases would you need to open in order to find a Super Treasure Hunt, there's been a couple of estimates. I've heard 15 and I've heard 20. So what I did is I'm going to break the number down for you by what it would be if we divided the 474,000 cases by 15, and how many possible Super Treasure Hunts would be in there by dividing it by 15. And also, I'm going to divide it by 20, and I'll give you the number of what the estimated number of Super Treasure Hunts would be if it's a 1 in 20 case selection. So if I take 474,074 cases for case assortment A for 2025, and I divide that by 15, that would tell me that there would be a total of 31,604 super treasure hunts out there for the A-Case assortment. Now for this year, the A-Case assortment was the Audi Quattro. And so you had 31,604 chances out of 474,000 to be able to, basically find that super treasure hunt. Now, if we move it up and we say, okay, it's 1 in 20 cases, well, the number of super treasure hunts decreases. So I take 474,074, divide that by 20, and now we have 23,703 chances to find the super treasure hunt from that case assortment. So this is where the guesstimation comes in. We're not really sure what the actual per case number is, but estimates based off of empirical data of people opening multiple cases and what the percentage is of what they found out of case codes that are all the same is somewhere between 15 and 20. So you can either take a look at it and say, I'm going to go with the 15, meaning there's more of them out there, or it's a little more exclusive and there's less of them out there. Now, the other thing that I mentioned is the ease of finding based off the popularity. Take, for example, the H-Case super treasure hunt from last year, the beautiful Volvo P1800 Gasser. I came across a shipper at one store where if you look back at the video, I found five of these, and that was after finding 2 hanging on the pegs at 2 separate locations. So 7 total treasure hunts out of the either 31,000 or 23,000. Another one that's been found quite a lot, to the point where people are even leaving these behind, is this year's C-Case, which is a fantasy casting, the High Roller 2, which I found a total of 4. I've brought home 2 and I've left 2 on the pegs. And then another one that I was really, really fortunate to find quite a few of, and this was from 2 years ago, the little classic TV series tuned Batmobile. I found 4 of these all at the same store, so all at a grocery store over a period of about 2 months. And so it could have just been that this was not a coveted super treasure hunt, so it wasn't looked for as much, or it was missed because it was very closely painted to match its super treasure hunt and basic. Now, you start moving into some of the harder ones to find. Harder, not in that there was less numbers, but there were more people out there actively looking. So if you have a casting like this, the 82 Toyota Supra, where there's going to be a lot of people out there looking for it, it can seem like there are less of them available, even though we know the numbers say there isn't. Another one was the Firebird TA, also from last year, which was a very difficult one to find, but not because the numbers are different. I don't believe that there is a reduction of numbers based on the popularity of casting. It's just that more people are out there actively looking for these castings. And also another one that was pretty coveted last year was the beautiful N-Case Porsche 935. This is the only one that I found on pegs, and I saw a lot of people find 5, 6, 8 of these at a time in big dump-in finds where they were able to just capitalize on being at the right place at the right time. And last but not least, another one that was actively searched for last year's M-Case, the beautiful 180SX Type S out of the M-Case for last year. So it really just comes down to understanding that you're not just dealing with the total numbers that you have available to you, you're also dealing with the fact that there are certain castings that are coveted by more and more collectors, and those castings are going to be searched for at a higher volume than, say, something like the Batmobile or something like the Volvo Gasser, or even probably the least liked super so far of the 2025 case assortments, the High Roller 2. And it's just really about getting out there, looking in different places, and giving yourself the best opportunity to be a part of either that 31,600 or 23,703, based on which camp you're in, whether it's 15 cases per super or 20 cases per super. And it could be lower, it could be higher, but best estimation is 15 or 20 or somewhere in between. So now you have the math, you can kind of run the math yourself and determine, am I going to find these? Yes. With enough hunting and enough getting out to different places and enough exposure, the probabilities say you should be able to find them. But those people who are spotty about looking, or they're not really getting out and checking different places, and they're relying on the big box stores, Target, Walmart, anything that's the large box stores like that where they try to get higher volumes in. You also have to remember that a larger volume of customer goes into those stores too. And that means you're competing with a lot more people. That's why I stick a lot to the smaller chains or the grocery stores, where I've had a lot more success with finding super treasure hunts than I ever have searching at the big box stores. So there you go, guys. There's the numbers, a little bit of math today. But before we leave off on this, I want to talk to you about another brand. And it's really kind of odd that these are coveted so much more than some of these other companies that do make chases as well. So I'm going to give you an example of what would be actually a much lower production on a chase than any super treasure hunt. So the one that I brought out today is the Auto World Ultra Reds. So they used to put the numbers produced on their cards, and they ranged anywhere between at the lowest 2,500 up to as high as 30,000. So what I did for this is I based it off of 10,000. So 10,000 of this actual card being produced and put out into the market. Now we know what percentage there are of Ultra Reds based off the assortment, because Auto World tells us right here on the back. And if you guys can read that, it says Ultra Red variations of Auto World diecast are generally 3% of our entire production run for each casting. So based off of a 10,000 casting production run, that means there's only 900 of these in the world. They are worldwide, 900. So you take that and you compare that with either number. The Super Treasure Hunt at 15 per case is 31,000, or at 20, one in every 20 cases, 23,000. That is significantly more, meaning that there's a lot more stock and value put into the car that's actually not quite as rare as another brands when you're talking about chases. And they use a similar paint for their Ultra Red. I wouldn't call it Spectre Flame, because that is basically a brand copyright for Hot Wheels and what they call their paint, but it's very similar. So these, if you look by and large, do not ever keep pace as far as value with a lot of the very coveted super treasure hunts, because there is just a brand loyalty when it comes to Hot Wheels, more so than the rarity. It's a brand loyalty, and there's a greater diversity of castings available in their chases. So, all right, we got all that covered. We talked math, we talked probabilities. What do you guys think? Let me know what you guys think, if you've ever run this data and decided what you think the total number of super treasure hunts are, and how many cases it takes you to go through in probability to be able to find a super treasure hunt. Do you think my numbers are close? Do you think they're too low, too high? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear from you guys. And also, if you're returning to the channel and you're a subscriber, welcome back. Love having you guys here. Hope you guys have been enjoying the content. And if you are not a subscriber to the channel, remember, it is free 99, meaning it doesn't cost you anything. Hit that subscribe button and come back and get some content like this so you guys can learn a little bit about this hobby that many of you invest a lot of your time in. And last but not least, hit that like button for me and let me know that you like the content that's being put out. And I hope that you guys learned a little something today and you can take this into your hunting expeditions. But until next time, guys, stay frosty, take care of yourselves, make sure it's family first. Hunting is not finding, and be the courteous person when you're hunting. And if it's a kid, let them grab the castings first. And always share what you find and share what you've got, and be good to the community. Till next time, guys, this is Super JDM Diecast, and I am out.